Eskom's board held an emergency meeting with government last night. Of course, more load shedding means more trouble for the business community. Let's get the latest now from ENCA's Aviwe Mtila. He joins us now. He's been chatting to those in the know in business. Morning, Aviwe.
Morning.
Okay, so I suppose it's not good news with the president telling the world why, they need to invest their millions and billions in South Africa, and then we have this happen. So are we seeing that load shedding has really put a big spoke in that wheel?
Of course, it is a big problem. We heard the president himself angered by the recent events and developments around load shedding. We understand him that even last year he was on an investment drive, wanting to secure 1 trillion rands over the next 5 years. Of course, he was in Davos even earlier this year, going through that investment drive again, wanting people to come in and invest in South Africa. But the problem comes in when our electricity fails, essentially no businesses can work. It hampers the business confidence, and it hampers his plans to get that trillion rand going.
So we know that there was this big marathon meeting late into the night with Eskom's board and Minister Pravin Gordhan, Public Enterprises Minister. Now, he's been the go-to guy, Pravin Gordhan, I suppose, in the business community because, from finance to public enterprises. But is this something that, is within his hands to actually deal with and solve for us?
From even SARS, he's been respected there, of course. And as you mentioned, he was finance minister, where a lot of his work was around policy. Yeah. Now, as public enterprise minister, it's more about literally the nuts and bolts, getting these state-owned entities to actually work. And if you have problems such as the ones Eskom is facing right now, and them being tabled as an emergency by Khulu Phasiwe, for example, the Eskom spokesperson, it really puts his role as a public enterprise minister also into a bit of trouble as well. But he's trying to get things in order. We heard that he was in a 6-hour meeting yesterday. But we're still seeing stage 3 load shedding from 8 o'clock today until 11 o'clock, which
it seems worse than yesterday.
It was stage 4 yesterday. Now they try to remedy that, but they're saying that they couldn't get. They used a lot of diesel yesterday in trying to remedy that situation. So, which has led to the current stage 3 that we're facing today.
Okay, well, you've got your eye on the stock market. So, what do you reckon? Are we going to see industrial companies? Are we going to see manufacturing taking the biggest knock if load shedding continues like it is at the moment?
Well, of course, that is largely expected because if you understand, industrial stocks require a lot of electricity. If you look at your factories, if you look at the mining industry, essentially production and productivity stops in those spates of load sheddings, in those 3-4 hours of load shedding. And now the business still has to run, but you still have to pay people for doing nothing, basically. So, of course, industrial stocks are expected. We're going to look at the markets today and see how they perform, but we're expecting them not to be stable.
Did you see an immediate reaction, I wonder?
That's what you have to look forward to today and see if there will be an immediate reaction to the space of load shedding that we're facing.
Wow. Okay, now we had one expert earlier saying that load shedding costs our economy about 2 billion rand per day. What does that actually mean for growth of our economy? Is it we probably can't recover from that?
Well, of course, growth was projected at 1.3% growth, but of course, with what we're facing now with load shedding, it's highly unlikely that we're going to reach those levels of growth. Even 1.3% is not enough to guarantee employment and also assist with our staggering levels of unemployment as it is. So it's not bidding well at all. It is an emergency. We have to understand that the situation has to be remedied as soon as we can.
Okay, well, Aviwe, I'm going to have you staying here with me because we're going to continue chatting about Eskom. It's a big chunk of our discussions this morning. Now, my partner